Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, doing business and life with a purpose, serving others and achieving success. I'm your host today, Steve Ramona. We created this show for you because we want everyone to learn how to do business and life to make an impact in the world. How will you serve today and what impact will you make? And we're going to talk listening today. And this is a lady that's impacted the listening world, the deaf world, the hard of hearing world in an impactful way. Raffiella, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So I'm going to start with the question you gave me. How did you know this program was worthwhile and why did you get it started?
Well, when I first heard about the program, I had no idea what it was, but I referred my mother to have treatment because I was in a conversation and I told the doctor I was speaking with that my mother couldn't hear in a noisy room if there was background noise, and she was really sensitive to loud sound, and this really disrupted her life. She couldn't socialize normally. So she went and had the treatment. It was a 6-week treatment in a clinic then, or maybe it was 12 weeks, and it was life-changing for her. It gave her back the capacity to hear in a normal social situation so that she could socialize again. And she was no longer sensitive to loud sound. So it was really just a remarkable transformation for her. And then through a whole series of events, we ended up sharing the program as a self-help system. And it just went around the world. We found so many people were benefiting. People from all walks of life were benefiting tremendously. And we knew that it was working because of the feedback we were getting. The people were telling us their child had learned to read. Their tinnitus had stopped. That's ringing in the ears. Their anxiety had gone. They were sleeping for the first time. So that's how I knew it was worthwhile. It's the feedback I keep getting from my listeners all the time for the last 35 years.
I love the word socialize because that brings up, when I talk to hard of hearing, deaf people or friends of, social life is tough because they're out there. They see their cochlear or their earpiece and they treat it a little different. They speak a little louder. You're solving that problem a little bit, aren't you?
Well, we are. We have people with all levels of hearing loss and people with normal hearing. So I don't want people to think this is just if you've got a hearing problem, because it's a treatment for the brain, but it does help all sorts of hearing problems. You know, research has shown that when people start to get a hearing problem and their wife starts saying to them or their husband, "You're deaf, you're not hearing me," that there's a delay. There's an 8-year delay before they go and do something about it and get a hearing aid or something like that. But a hearing aid's not the only option. And during that period, that 8-year delay, there's something they can do, and that's sound therapy, because it helps when people have just got minimal hearing loss, just that little bit of loss, and they're not ready for a hearing aid. But on the other hand, people who do use a hearing aid and have moderate or severe hearing loss have still benefited from our program. It's enhanced their hearing. So it helps people at all levels of that spectrum of hearing loss or normal hearing.
I like that because there's a lot of loneliness when you can't hear. You sit in a room at a party, you sit down, and I've heard this, from my father-in-law who is a cochlear. I'm loud, I speak loud, so he kind of hear me better. But I watch him and the body language. Talk about that loneliness about somebody that can't hear what's going around.
Yes, because hearing is connection. Our capacity to connect with other people and have relationships, for most of us, depends on hearing, unless you're in the deaf community. That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah. But
we use hearing to communicate. And people don't realize this. Sadly, Steve, people don't realize how valuable their ears are, and that we need our ears in order to have our relationships. And so many people abuse their ears throughout life and just expose them to loud noise, either in industry or in recreation through music that's just too loud, and they don't put earplugs in. And I'm horrified when people say to me, that ringing you get in your ears after a loud concert, it lasts for about 3 days, but then it goes away. Well, no, I have never had that because I've looked after my ears. And if you're getting that for 3 days, you've done damage. You've done damage, and it's hard to fully repair that damage to the ears. We can do something with sound therapy, which is a miracle, because the general medical belief is you can't repair hearing at all. You just have to get a hearing aid. But yes, if people accumulate that damage because they don't realize it's going to end up that they'll be isolated, that they'll have tinnitus, they'll have hearing loss, and they won't be able to go along to the events they like at the club because it's a noisy room and things bounce off the walls. They won't be able to go out to lunch with a group of friends. They'll have to drop out of the choir. And it's later in life that people notice these things. So my message to people always is, please look after your ears. They're so precious. You only have two. And they are the avenue to our relationships. So to be able to repair them somewhat and reconnect people, that's what we do. And it does make a huge difference to helping people regain those social connections.
Yeah. What's a couple of tips you can tell our audience to help keep their ears healthy? What can they do?
Well, the number one thing is don't expose them to loud noise. So, if you're using loud equipment, have really good earmuffs. Even use earplugs and earmuffs. And anytime there's a loud noise, just do this. I mean, if I'm at a concert or a dinner or anything that's too loud, I get some tissue, I put it in my ears. I never let myself be exposed to uncomfortable sound, especially young children. Just, don't take them to loud concerts. It's not fair. So yeah, protect your ears from noise is the number one thing. Another thing that's a good tip that we've learned over the years is keep your ears warm in the winter, because people get a lot more ear problems in winter. They get infections and they just have trouble. So keeping your ears warm is a good thing. So yeah, there's a couple of tips for just generally looking after your ears.
Those are great, simple, but I never thought about them. And the audience is probably going, I never thought about that either. Well, let's dive into this. For you people watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see, if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to describe it to you. Can you show us the device and kind of how it works as much as you can, since we're on video here?
Yeah, sure. So when people hear that we do sound therapy, they imagine that we're in a room with crystal bowls and you're lying down. No, this is a completely different type of sound therapy. It was developed by a French ear doctor, an ear, nose and throat specialist. It uses classical music, but we've filtered the music through a special device, the electronic ear, so that what comes to the ear is a changed program with special algorithms and patterns that have been used to alter the music, so that as you listen, it's exercising your ears. It's actually working the muscles in your middle ear. Now, most people don't even know we have muscles in the middle ear, but that's what's happening with sound therapy. There's two little muscles in there, the hammer muscle and the stirrup muscle. It's giving them a workout. We say it's like taking your ears to the gym, and it absolutely is. And we have a progressive program that gradually wakes up those muscles and works them more and more so they get stronger and stronger. And it restores a lot of normal function to the ears, being able to focus in a noisy room, being able to tolerate sounds, not being, hypersensitive to sound, and also helping dizziness, tinnitus, and improving hearing. So all of those things happen for the hearing side. I hope we'll talk more about the brain later. But how do you listen to it? Well, it comes on, we provide it on this little device. So that's a little music player that's specially made, so you get high quality sound. And it comes with this convenient lanyard, which you can wear around your neck or across your shoulder. It's totally adjustable for any size. And then you just plug the headphones in to the device and you listen. We have a range of different headphones, earbuds or larger ones, whatever you prefer, whatever's comfortable. But most of our headphones are open. So even though they cover the ear, you can still hear what's going on around you. You can still have a conversation with it on. You can still watch TV with it on or do anything. And I spend most of my day, Steve, assuring people that you can do other things when you have your sound therapy on, because people assume you have to sit down and just listen to your sound therapy. You don't. It's like wearing your glasses. You put your glasses on and you carry on with your day. You put your sound therapy on and you carry on with your day. And you don't have to have it all day, but about 3 hours with, a bit here and a bit there, make up about 3 hours a day, or later on when you're sleeping. So it is so easy to do. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. I say it takes 30 seconds to listen to sound therapy, because you press play, you put it on, you put the headphones on, and away you go. So because of that, I've used this therapy for 35 years because it doesn't take any time, because I'm a busy person. I listen every night sleeping, and it helps me get a deeper sleep and feel more energized and calmer during the day. So it's just a great thing to have in life. And we have many, many listeners who've used it for years because they love the benefits that it delivers.
And you're saying 3 hours a day is the goal for this?
Approximately,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
With a bit here, a bit there. You can do some on your way to work, some on your way home. Lots of people use it at work. People have used this while driving a tractor, running a sawmill, sailing, mowing the lawn, giving a public talk. That was me. Anything except, well, my mother said in her book, anything except tennis or sex. But I generally say anything except having a shower.
Yeah. Gotcha.
The guy that was mixing cement, I love this. He rang me up a few months ago and said, "Oh, I was using sound therapy while I was laying cement." I thought, "Oh dear," I was imagining it in the cement, but no, he had it in his pocket and he dropped it in a puddle. So he fished it out of the puddle, took it home, put it in a jar of rice for 3 days, as you do, and it still worked.
Amen.
So that was great. But I said to him, "Why didn't you attach the lanyard? You wouldn't have dropped it in the first place."
You know, humans, we do things differently everywhere.
Yeah.
We're infallible for a reason.
Yeah.
Or fallible, not infallible. I want to jump into brain. You mentioned that kind of subtly. Yeah. Let's jump in that because if it helps that, I could use a lot of it.
Yeah, well, we all have a brain, Steve. You know, people ask me who's this for. I say anyone who has ears, but I also say anyone who has a brain because see, the brain needs positive stimulation. And unfortunately, we're living in a world that's noisy with the wrong sort of noise. You know, there's machine noise all around us. There's loud noise. All of that damages the nervous system and dulls the brain. So what the brain needs is complex, delicate, intricate, high-frequency sound. And when we hear that, it wakes up the brain and we feel better. And so that's why we use classical music for sound therapy, because it has complex melody, complex rhythm, and complex harmony. And all of that is stimulating for the brain, and it activates at least 10 different centers in the brain. Not only that, but the way we've filtered the music means that it's emphasizing the high frequencies, and they are the really charged frequencies. High frequencies just means tone, sound of high tone. So, oh, that's a high frequency. Oh, that's a low frequency. That's all it means. Mm-hmm. But very, very high frequencies, almost inaudible, play a big role in waking up the ear and waking up the brain. And we've enriched the high frequencies in the music. We progressively remove the lows and enrich the high frequencies because that is what activates the brain. You know, we've heard for the last 20, 30 years about brain plasticity. Everyone's talking about it. And that means rebuilding new pathways, which we can do because the brain is plastic, meaning malleable and changeable. But how do you build those new pathways? Well, this is just about the best way of doing that. You know, sensory stimulation builds new pathways. Thinking builds new pathways too. But by putting in stimulation through the senses, we're activating the brain. It's working in tandem with the whole nervous system and the body receiving information, which is interesting, and therefore it builds new pathways. And sound is one of the most effective ways to do that because you can have this intensive, complex, interesting sound going for hours every day. And all the time that you're listening, you're building and enhancing and strengthening those pathways and getting them better organized as well. So people find their thinking is clearer, their language ability is clearer, their focus is sharper, and extraordinarily, people report creativity blossoming. So musicians say, suddenly I was able to sit down and compose, or writers say I was able to plot a novel for the first time. All sorts of remarkable abilities pop up for people here and there because the brain is being activated and organized in a new and positive way.
I like that. This is so cool. And it's exciting because you're changing lives and enhancing lives. And not a lot of people, I mean, selling Starbucks is not enhancing life. Yeah, maybe it is with coffee, but it's not like this. So I really appreciate it. And it's a servant's heart that does this because you're trying to serve that hard of hearing community. But how much has the business changed over the last 25 years?
Yeah, well, it has changed quite a bit. Well, the big change, you see, initially, you could only get this treatment in a clinic. So when my mother went for treatment, she had to sit in the clinic with big headphones on for 3 hours a day, and she had to drive 60 miles every day it was to Montreal, where she did the therapy. So that's how it was before we came into the picture. Then the story is told in our book that my mother and I wrote about how she met some monks in Western Canada who assisted her to put the program on cassette tape. Remember cassette tapes? Are you old enough to remember cassette
I
tapes? Come
do,
on.
but I'm not a lot of the audience probably.
Yeah, okay. Well, back then that was the new wang dang portable sound, you know. So we put it on cassette tape and had it on the Sony Walkman, and you could take it home and you know, you were free. You didn't have to sit in the clinic to listen to it. This was the big breakthrough. So we had it on cassette for many years. Then we had it on CD for many years, and then eventually we put it on these wonderful little players, and we've had a series of them, but they get better all the time.
Yeah.
So making it portable, that was our addition to the Tinnitus method. Dr. Tinnitus, who developed the program. Initially, his method was just in the clinic. So we made it portable. And so what my mother had that she developed in her time was the book and the 4 cassettes, and that's what we were selling. And where I've taken it from there, I've written another 2 books, one specifically on tinnitus, or tinnitus, ringing in the ears, because that is the biggest reason that people come to us for sound therapy. Our program helps tinnitus probably more effectively than anything else in the world. So I've written a book on that called Triumph Over Tinnitus. And I've written another book called Why Aren't I Learning, which is about children, because Tomatis worked a lot himself with children as well, with dyslexia and autism. And now there's ADHD, and there's so many syndromes and difficulties children are having, developmental
learning
difficulties.
disabilities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And sound therapy.
And this part helps people with autism and learning disabilities as well, right?
Absolutely. It helps all of that too. So we have pursued the method in all of those. Sorry, I've just got to turn off this alarm.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we pursued it through all of those channels. And we've also trained practitioners. So we developed a practitioner training, a practitioner brand synergy. And of course, we've got online. So the program can be ordered online from all over the world. And it's just really developing more support materials. So the 3 books, there are workbooks for every program, and so many case histories that we've gathered. And there have been a few studies. I had a journal article published recently about children and learning and language, and how that was affected and held back during the pandemic due to lockdown. So it's been sharing the message with everyone, and you know, we've had a whole team of people working on it here in the office, and consultants that have been trained. It's really been a remarkable journey. And what really is the most heartwarming about it, Steve, is that our listeners have used the program for years and years and years, and they ring up and they say, look, I got the tapes from your mother back in the 80s. I want to get a new program now. This is what it's done for me. It's helped me so much. I've used it over the years. And to hear back from the people whose lives have changed because of it, it really makes it all worthwhile. And that's just been a wonderful journey for me.
What a great testimonies. And those are the stories that just make you a servant heart, keeps you going, keeps you serving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've had a lot of conservative resistance. What keeps you going?
Yes, I suppose, yes, this is like a new niche program, you know. It's a little bit outside of the mainstream, because we have wanted to work with audiologists, because most people go to an audiologist when they have a hearing problem. And so we've offered it and tried to approach those sectors, and it's been very difficult. Audiologists and hearing aids are very much married. In fact, the profession was developed in order to sell hearing aids. So that's really the main work that audiologists do. And so most of them haven't been open. Now, some have been open, and a wonderful doctor of audiology in Indianapolis wrote the foreword to my last 2 books. So, and we have had support from audiologists who want to look outside of the mainstream. But what I've found has worked for us is to just go direct to the public, because you know, 90% of people, 99%, are told by their GP nothing can be done for tinnitus, but I'll send you to an ENT just in case. So the ENT does an MRI, a scan, in case it's a tumour. It's hardly ever a tumour. That's rare, but they do one just to make sure. They go to an audiologist who recommends a hearing aid, because occasionally that will help tinnitus. So they do the rounds of all of those practitioners, and then they're told, it's just tinnitus, you'll just have to live with it. There's nothing we can do. They're not offered anything. And the only thing people might be offered is masking, a masker which plays another sound to distract you from the tinnitus. And, you know, like ocean noise or rain or music, anything like that. And that's fine. That helps give some people some relief. Or white noise or pink noise or brown noise. You know, that may give people some relief. Although those white noise and brown noise, it's not really good for the brain. It's kind of dulling because it's the same thing all the time. So I don't recommend them, but they do give some people some temporary relief, but they don't fix the problem. Our program actually fixes the problem of tinnitus by rehabilitating the ears and remapping the brain. So it is an actual treatment, and that's different. And so, yes, we haven't found an inroad where the medical profession really wants to offer it. If we did, it would probably cost 10 times more than we sell it for. So we go direct to public. And what's kept me going is I can't stop because our listeners need this and they love it. And we found that they appreciate dealing direct with us, dealing with a small business where they get service and hearing my mother's story and my story. And they're happy to come to us. So we've just found this is our niche. It's outside of mainstream medicine.
Yep.
And it's different to other sound therapies, the crystal bowls. It's a specific niche, and it's been great.
Yeah.
There have been so many people who want it, and we're always working to get the word out more because there's always more people, unfortunately, with tinnitus and learning difficulties in the complex and toxic world that we're in. There's a lot of problems. So it's great at least to be able to offer something to help those people.
Servant heart comes to my mind because you can go to those doctors, charge more, make more money, but your business is not about that. It's about helping the people directly and not about money. And that's why you're on this show, and that's why you have a servant's heart.
Yes,
I really appreciate that. We're coming to the end here. So how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, well, we'd like to offer a special information pack, an online information pack with some extra elements and a free ebook to your listeners. So if they go to mysoundtherapy.com/podcast, there's a special offer there for them, and we'll be really glad to hear from them and send them out the information, and they can learn everything about the program.
Awesome. And there'll be a way to contact form they can fill out if they want to talk to you or somebody on the team. Ask questions.
Yep.
Absolutely. Great.
Yep.
So go out and do that.
Yep.
I want to thank you. You're a true servant. Your company's a true servant. It's what I love having on this show because people need to see that. Again, it's not about the almighty dollar. That will come when it comes. So thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. You're doing wonderful work, and I really appreciate being able to be on your show.
God bless you. Thank you. And, listen to this again, learn more about the ear and listening. I always tell people, if you like a podcast, listen to it twice or 3 times because you're going to get educated. If you're having a bad day, I guarantee listen to this podcast. It'll make you smile because it's making me smile. And we'll see all of you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart.